Fix my lighting. I think it's a little better now. Yeah, we are officially in the final panel, the overtime section, as Birchie named it. Another reminder, as always, we welcome you to submit questions via the Q&A option. I'll do my very best to fit them in. Another reminder about the survey at the end of the event. You will be emailed out a survey, and if you fill it in, you get a chance to win a pair of Under Armour shoes. So joining us for our final panel here is Namita Nandakumar, the Senior Quantitative Analyst for the Seattle Kraken Hockey Operations Research and Development Team. Namita was hired by the Kraken following 2 seasons working with the Philadelphia Eagles. We've got Christy Aubin, the Kitchener Rangers Administrative Assistant. Christy supports both the business and the hockey operations for the club, and she's worked in administrative roles supporting senior executives for almost 20 years. We've got Rochelle Thiel, Community Events and Merchandising Manager of the Kitchener Rangers. Rochelle has been with the Rangers since 2010 in a variety of roles. And lastly, we have Olivia Terenzio, who is also with the Kitchener Rangers as a lead data tracker. Olivia has worked with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, with the Ontario Hockey League, with First Robotics Canada, and Philip Aziz Center for Palliative Care. So, I mean, all of you have a real wealth of experience in a number of different departments. I'm really excited to just on everyone's journey into the hockey world, because everyone's journey has been so unique. Namita, we'll start with you. You also were included in Sportsnet's 25 most important women in hockey. You share a spot in that list with fellow Seattle Kraken hire Cami Granado, who's breaking ground as the NHL's first ever female pro scout. First of all, what's it like to be included on this list with so many incredible hardworking women?
I mean, it's really such an honor. Like, I can't even express it. I feel like, having worked in the NHL for the past year, like the overwhelming thing to me is that I just have so much left to learn from everyone. I think sometimes people look at analytics and they might think like, oh, we think we have all the answers and we're trying to, displace everyone who's already in the sport. But I just have such a great amount of respect for everyone, all the players, all the people, who have made hockey what it is, especially the women, and to be listed alongside a lot of them is just a huge honor, and I try to be worthy of it.
Well, congratulations on such a phenomenal accolade. I mean, that's amazing recognition. We just heard from Megan. She gave a really kind of nice introspective look into her day-to-day in the data analytical space. Can you tell us a bit about your role with the Seattle Kraken?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm really happy that Megan sort of really emphasized the importance of technical skills, because I can tell you guys just right off the bat, like every day I'm coding. Every day I open up my R Studio window, use R, the program that I use. I would say R and Python are the really common ones in terms of what analytics people, statisticians, whatever you want to call us, use to analyze our data. And I'm building models and a lot of different types of things. I will say, my forte is definitely, especially in the kind of amateur realm. So I'm spend a lot of time trying to figure out, which are the OHL prospects that we think have the highest probability of success in the NHL. So answering questions like that using data, it's really a lot of fun. And I think also, as I mentioned before, I'm always learning from people in the sport, because I want to hear, what people who have played hockey for 20 years think, are the best and most relevant criteria for a successful prospect, for example. So it's definitely a lot of listening and learning, and then taking, my expertise in the data and modeling side of things, and trying to kind of join and bridge those worlds. And it's been such a great experience working with the Kraken. I can't say enough good stuff about how great the team is, how welcoming they've been, both on the hockey side and on the non-hockey side, and how committed they are every single day, not just today, to support women, and, people of all underrepresented groups. So yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. Love hearing that. Well, as I mentioned, you worked with the Philadelphia Eagles prior to joining the Kraken. Um, and Alexandra spoke to this in the first panel as well, just how like you said, the Kraken really do have this exciting vision of, making a point of hiring and committing to hiring a diverse staff. Sorry, I can't speak. How exciting is it to you to be a part of that commitment to diversity, but also just part of a brand new team?
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, I am a sort of Philly area native, so frankly, it was going to be really hard to convince me from like my childhood team. But I like to say the only thing that was cooler than that actually was this opportunity to build a team from scratch. I think, and that's where like that value in diverse perspectives, I think we're especially seeing that because we're doing something that hasn't been done very often before, right? We're building a team from scratch. The only one in very recent memory is Vegas, and we want people with all sorts of differing perspectives. I think Megan mentioned this as well. There's a lot of value in having people who have done work or have experience in different sports. I definitely take a lot of what I've learned at the Eagles. My coworker Danny Chu, who I work with very closely, he has a ton of basketball experience that we leverage as well. So, it's such a unique problem that I think we're especially seeing, how valuable it is to have different creative perspectives working at that problem. And that's where I'm so happy and so thankful that the Kraken from its inception has really valued, diverse hiring and then also supporting the people once they get there.
That's great. It's really great that they've made that commitment. Christy, we'll talk about your trajectory. Before we get started, I need to ask about the pucks behind you. I see pucks from a number of different OHL teams. Is that your personal collection?
No, I'm at the office.
That was my next guess.
Yeah, no, I'm at the office. These are the game-winning pucks. I have to actually read it to tell you the truth. I can't read it. I just know that Rochelle will probably be able to tell you. She's been around here a lot longer than I have.
Oh no, it's fine. It just caught my attention. I could see all the different logos. I'm trying to make a connection of what I mean, if it was your collection, I definitely would have been impressed.
Well, no, that's not my collection. It's got the stick behind it. It's got a stick behind it as well. So all the pucks are sitting in front of the stick.
That's true. All right, well, we'll talk about your trajectory a bit. You've held senior executive roles in Canada and in Bermuda as well. What brought you to the Kitchener Rangers?
It's actually by chance. I was looking for something different, and my husband was actually renewing his tickets online. And he saw the advertisement for the job online, and he sent it to me right away. He says, "Okay, you gotta apply for this." And it's like, I'm not really sure. I wasn't ever looking to get. I've always enjoyed hockey, and I grew up with hockey. My kids played hockey, but it was never a vision of mine to get involved in the sport. So it was, to be completely honest, it was purely by chance that I ended up here. But it's been the best thing ever. Like my kids would say that within the first couple of weeks of being here, my demeanor had changed like a 180 because it was a very good move for me.
Oh, well, I'm so happy to hear that. So you kind of started out as a fan, your family, you guys were all big hockey fans, and you stumbled upon this job, and now you kind of know hockey is where you want it to be.
Yeah, but I have to say it's a huge part of it's a testament to the Rangers. And I know that it seems to be a theme today, and I'm sorry, but they are very, very of anybody and everybody, and questions are never stupid. Questions are never frowned upon asking. They're encouraged, and everybody Everybody has been so fantastic. I've been here since 2019, but I haven't even had a full season under me because the pandemic hit. So I don't even know what it's like to be in here from one part of the season right through the whole year. So I still have a lot to learn. There's still so much more to be coming down the pipe for me, but I know that I can handle it because I've got amazing support. So that's been a big asset as well.
Definitely, yeah. We've all, of course, had to make these crazy adjustments with the pandemic, and I mean, you've had this incredible support the whole way, so you kind of know the best is yet to come when the puck drops again on the season.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of members of the Kitchener Rangers organization on this call. Rochelle, having gotten your start with the Rangers back in 2010, just wondering, were your aspirations always to work in the sports industry? Maybe you could talk a bit about your career journey and how it led you to hockey in that sense.
Yeah, so I was, as a kid, I was very much involved in sports. Not playing hockey, I played soccer in the summer, and then I played competitive basketball throughout the winter. And then going into like high school, I was very much involved with athletics and like doing events and like student activity council. And that kind of paved my way to my university path, which was recreation and leisure studies at UW. But it was in my first year when I was at Waterloo that I saw the job volunteer opportunity to assist with the game operations team. So I applied for it. I'm a local. I'm born and raised in KW. Watched the Kitchener Rangers since I was a little girl. It was something that me and my dad could bond over because my dad is an OHL alumni. And so we would constantly go to games. And so it was something that I grew up with and had an idea about. So I was like, oh, this is really cool to get involved in the community and in doing events and sports, two things I really like. I remember in like grade 10 careers class when we have to sit to do like what do you want to do and like your path to go to that. I didn't even realize there was opportunities behind the scenes. So like it was such an eye-opening experience doing that, assisting with all the game operations and internal events. And that kind of drove me to try and find different areas. So throughout my university career, I was with the Rangers my first 2 years as volunteers, my last 2 years as a part-time staff. And but I also was trying to gain as much experience as possible, because one of the things that I saw when just looking at the OHL specifically was that if I wanted to have a career in sports post university, that every team has different job opportunities. So I took on a summer job with the Hamilton Tiger Cats when they were in Guelph. And that led me to being supervisor of the cat team. So I was helping with specifically doing all like their emergency calls. So helping with like St. John's Ambulance, also the security lead with the Tiger Cats if there was any player injuries. That also led me to doing an internship with the Toronto Argonauts in community relations, which was so impactful. That was kind of where I was like, I really want to have a community focus. I remember my one appearance with the team. We were doing a huddle up, and I had one of the participants' parents come and just explain to me how much of an impact our program was, and how much it helped steer the student onto the right path. And so that to me was like, I want to do this. And so in addition to that, I wanted to gain like social media experience and different areas like that. So in my my summer following graduation, I was the assistant event manager for Hockey Night in Canada's Play On, specifically London. So I helped run that event, and it was so cool. I got to help out and lead the London, and then I got to go across Canada implementing all some of the events out east. So it was really cool, and it provided me with a lot of experience for when I was fortunate enough to have been offered my my full-time job in 2014 with the Rangers. And my job with the Rangers is community events and merchandising. So I'm in charge of the team store. But that kind of has evolved since being a volunteer. Then I was a part-time supervisor of the game operations staff and the store staff, into assisting with community events and player appearances, and then heading up the team store in terms of staffing, purchasing, all that fun stuff in that area.
It's always just so nice to get feedback like that, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
speaking to when the person approached you about the impact you've had.
Oh, it was amazing. Well, and now I think that was 2013, and now that's 8 years ago, and it's still like, it brought tears, and it brought tears to the mom's eyes of how impactful it was. And that was where I was like, I want to keep on doing this in years to come.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a special thing about sports. It's really just so easy to make someone's day, isn't it?
Yeah. Sports is something that is liked by many, so it's a commonality when it comes to most people.
Absolutely, yes. I can attest the same thing in my experience as well. So Olivia, I believe you've kind of dipped your toes in a few different industries, but you're doing incredible work right now with the Kitchener Rangers on the data side as well. How far back did your interest in working in hockey stretch?
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys can hear me okay, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Like Megan, I've been having some audio issues today. But yeah, my path was definitely not straight into the hockey industry, as many as the people that have been on this call today. I always had a passion for the industry. As many of you said, our parents took us to games when we were little, and it never really dawned on me that this would kind of be a career until probably the later end of my first year of university. At the time, I was taking biomedical sciences, and I had this idea that I was going to go into the medical industry and become a surgeon. And everybody around me was like, "No, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you're supposed to be in arts and maybe in the hockey industry. Who knows?" And it wasn't really until, again, like I said, I finished that year where I was just up to my head in work, and the only time I really had a break during the day was at night for dinner. And what's on at night? Hockey. So me and hockey had a great relationship throughout the year, and by the end of the year, sparks were flying, and I'm like, you know what? We really have to get some idea as to what the possibilities are to go into this industry. And once I kind of have this kind of goal in mind, nothing can really stop me. So that summer I took a course in scouting and general managing. And I actually had a wonderful mentor at the time. His name was Harry Sinden. Maybe some of you know, but he was a former ice hockey player, coach, executive of the Boston Bruins. And for an older gentleman, he had very wise words, let's just say. And one of the quotes that I'll always remember is he said that, as a fan, the media will only tell you so much. And in order to really understand how the industry works, you need to kind of get behind those dressing room doors. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but it's kind of easier said than done. And so I kind of took his quote to heart. And from there, I just started to dive into all the possibilities that I could possibly imagine. And that fall, I actually got an internship with MLSE, working in their global partnerships unit. And I think it was during that internship that really opened my eyes to the possibilities that were available in the sports industry. People kind of see hockey as this main type of thing, but they don't see the behind the scenes work of all the different departments that are executing this game that you're watching on TV at the end of the day. And that is what really intrigued me. So while I was working at MLSE, I could obviously see the challenge that women had to face too in the industry. And as somebody who's very passionate about the industry in general and women's rights and trying to kind of push for equity and inclusivity, I found that this was a perfect niche for me to kind of do that. And then after my time at MLSE, after I kind of bugged everybody on every single department, trying to kind of pick their brains, I went back to Waterloo and I decided to reach out to the women and men's hockey team, whereby they kind of open arms and they kind of introduced me into the Kitchener Rangers. Again, it wasn't a path that I thought I was going to go down to, especially where I am today into analytics. It never really dawned on me, but that kind of just goes to show you that if you take risks and you kind of put your foot forward into something that maybe you're not so interested at first, but you're just trying to find your way, good things can come about. And I'm a believer in just taking those risks, because at the end of the day, some amazing things can happen. And obviously I had another internship with the OHL head office where I met Sarah and a lot of these wonderful women today. And it's just been a great journey from there. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you interned with the OHL, as you mentioned, where we had some opportunities to work closely, which was, of course, an amazing experience. Definitely miss being able to walk over to your office in simpler times. Of course, I haven't been to my office in a year now. But as an intern, I was wondering if you could speak to, how you feel you can prosper as an intern in the sports industry. What are some of the steps to take? What should you do to stand out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a hard question because I think, well, first of all, many students who are in university today, they're kind of all into this idea of, oh, I need to get my degree done on time. And, they're into the throes of family and friends, and they kind of lose sight of what taking that kind of 4 to 8 months off of school can do to do an internship. And, obviously it's a very competitive industry, no matter what internship you're going into. But the main thing that I try to say is be goal oriented, know what you want, and don't be afraid to kind of purvey that, or to the people that you're trying to get into the company with. We are all very strong in our own ways, and we have many qualities that we can possess, but it's up to you to show those qualities and really put yourself out there. My first time at MLSE, when I was an intern, we had one intern quit in the first 3 days, because he thought it was going to be all fun and games right off the bat. Right, you're going to have to do the dirty work before you get into the meetings, into watching or taking kids to meet players. Like, that's the end goal, right? So you have to be willing to put yourself out there, to take risks, to tell people. And it's okay to blabber about yourself. People are always afraid to kind of hold back, and in the event that they'll kind of see you as though they think they're full of themselves. But no, do that, because they want to see these qualities that you bring, right? And I'm a firm believer in doing that. And when situations arise as an intern, take them. Again, I'm a very big risk taker, sometimes too big of a risk taker, but I'm still here today, so we're okay. But it's just up to you to push forward and show people what you're made of, because the whole world is in your hands. It's just waiting for you to kind of take that next step.
Oh, such nice words. Such inspirational advice. I love it. Well, Rochelle, your kind of foray into the sports world with the Rangers was also as an intern back in 2010. So I'll ask you the same. How did you find you were able to flourish as an intern in the sports industry?
So I like, in terms of with the Rangers, I tried to show my commitment as a volunteer. You're working 8-hour game days. You're the first one there, last one to leave, but that's anyone in sports. Yeah, so yeah, I tried not to miss a game. Anytime there was an opportunity to help out, I was the first one, like trying to put my hand up or helping. Also taking the initiative, as Olivia said, going in and having those conversations about, like, is there anything coming up, and just trying to get your foot in the door aspect wise with that. So that was one of the ways of trying to get to get further in terms of just helping out. I also, as I previously mentioned, like I just wanted to build up my resume. I was fortunate to be able to be offered my position right after graduating. Did I expect that? No. So I was trying to build up and get as much experience as possible. And so when I was a volunteer, there was an opportunity to work at Pro Hockey Life. So I signed up and worked there for like 6 to 8 months just to try knowledge of that realm of it, since I never played hockey, didn't know that side of it. And that, I think, definitely helped me in terms of when the part-time position came available. And I recall Adam calling me because in that scenario, I'd emailed him asking what was happening for the season, just taking the first step, and mentioning that I had that experience, and he wasn't aware of that. And I think that itself benefited me into getting my part-time position, and then just helped going along. So just trying to get as much experience as possible. And I would say networking, but networking for me, that has helped me since I've been fortunate and have stayed with the Rangers for 10 seasons, was to get volunteers and staff to come on board, and fostering that relationship for that. So, but in other realms, networking would definitely be benefits to trying to get your foot further within the sports industry.
Yeah, all this great advice about making an impression and networking and getting your foot in the door. So I'll go back to you, Namita, and maybe you can talk about, you mentioned leaving your hometown of Philadelphia for this role, this exciting new role in Seattle. And can you talk about how that connection was made with Seattle, and how that relationship was formed?
Yeah, I mean, this is where, as more women work in the NHL and across hockey leagues, it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because, I was hired by Alex, who was on the first panel, right? And we essentially connected through a hockey analytics conference about 4 years ago, I think, where I was just a student presenting my first big project. And so that's where we first met. We definitely kept in touch. At the time, I was just so impressed that like someone who worked for an NHL team, because she was with the Wild at the time, was like talking to me. I was like, this is crazy. I don't know anything. But, she was super welcoming, super supportive of my research. And so, as I said, we kept in touch, including, when I was at the Eagles, but, we were just friends. But when this came up and she brought it to my attention, I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting to transition to hockey, even though I've always loved it. I was pretty happy with where I was at. But like I said, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The opportunity to work for Alex, who is amazing and who I knew, would be a great and supportive boss, was one that I was really excited to do. And hopefully, someday, as if, continuing to work in hockey, like I can be that awesome boss for someone. And like I said, it just keeps going, and the women in our ranks will continue to grow. And I think it's a very exciting proposition.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so easy to get so starstruck in this industry. So that's really great that you were able to connect with Alexandria, and you had that really like, wow, she's noticing my work kind of moment. We all kind of have that, I think, at some point in this industry. And it's so great to hear how everyone's path hasn't been super linear. And then there's, some of us that have taken it upon themselves to network and reach out and make connections. And then sometimes you just take a chance and you land your dream job, right, Christy? Exactly.
Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering now, Namita, I'll go back to you, and just, talking about the Kraken's, commitment to diversity, and they've really kind of made that part of their mission statement. Maybe you could talk about some of the that you've kind of faced on your way here as a woman of color, and did you ever feel like this diversity wasn't attainable?
Interesting. I think, one of the things that has sort of struck me about my path, it's frankly like still mind-boggling to me that like my career so far has included working for my favorite NFL team and then also working for a hockey team to help build it from the ground up. Like that's just, it's so cool. And I'm so thankful every single day. I think one of the things that is clear to me is that I do think that it's the case that like not every NFL or NHL team would want to hire me. I think the pool of, teams who look at me and see someone who's qualified and valuable and wouldn't question that, I think is smaller than if I was, let's say, a white man. And I don't know exactly which teams would feel a certain way about me and which teams wouldn't, but it is something that, if I'm at conferences or something, I think this happens less kind of the more my name gets out there, but certainly at the beginning when I was starting all of this, you could definitely tell the people who would talk to you and kind of immediately write you off. And to me, it's just, as long as there is at least one team, and that's the team I'm working for, who values me, I don't really care what everyone else thinks. And so that's kind of how I combat that. I know there's people who look at me and sort of don't expect me to be knowledgeable about hockey or, to be good at what I do. But I know that the people who do believe that include the Seattle Kraken. And when I was at the Eagles, I felt the same way. And so that's really what drives me, even though I know that there are additional barriers. And then, like I said, it's really inspiring and exciting to think that I can help break down the other women to follow, especially women of color. And like I said, all underrepresented minorities. I want to be inclusive of that. That is really exciting to me. That's part of why, I love coming on these types of panels and talking about it, because I want people to listen and see, what we can do and say, I do belong in this space, and I can follow my dream, and it's not just a dream for, cis white guys. Ooh, think you're muted.
Sorry about that. No, it's really inspiring to hear about your journey that way, and how you've always just wanted to be that kind of person who can show people that it can be done. Part of this really groundbreaking new team, which is such an amazing space to be. Christy, I was just wondering maybe if you could speak to some of the barriers that you've felt maybe you've had to overcome as a woman in hockey.
I think I don't know that I really had any barriers, so to speak, but in the sense they were self-inflicted. I'm probably the oldest one in all these panels, and I didn't go to school, but I worked my butt off in whatever job I had, and I took them seriously. I took whatever job came to me seriously. Yeah, there were things that I didn't like about every position, and whether they be small or large. But to me, that was my own barrier, because I always thought that in anywhere you had to go that you needed to have education. But I'm finding out that that's not the way it is, and I'm finding here in particular that it's even less so. There's not as much emphasis on the educational part. It's more of what what you're willing to learn, and how well you work within a team. And I know that's kind of throwing that around because it is a sports team, but I've been fortunate, I guess, that I haven't had a lot of those barriers. And it actually, I don't want to say that I'm embarrassed, because it is something that's kind of beyond my control, but I am very cognizant of it, and I am very grateful. I appreciate what Namita, grateful for each day that she has. And I feel the same way, because I'm on the opposite end of the scale. right? I am a white person, even though, and I'm a woman, but I find that you have to, I think confidence is a huge part in overcoming any kind of barrier. And in listening to Namita just talk now, I even had to write down, because to me, she exudes a very soft and quiet confidence. And I think that that speaks volumes. I think that speaks very, very loudly. And that's, I think we need more people like that. We need more women like that to exude their confidence in anything they do. It doesn't matter whether they have education or not. It doesn't matter whether they have a hockey background or not.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think some people do feel that education is their barrier to the sport, right?
Yeah, I think but I think that's my own barrier.
Self-inflicted barrier.
That's my own self-inflicted barrier,
Mhm.
because that's, but it's not the case. And I think that I've proven that I can do the job and that I'm capable of being in this kind of environment. So.
Absolutely. You know, working in hockey is so, it's exciting. And I mean, no days is ever the same. What, to you, what's the most exciting part about working in hockey? What excites you most about your job?
I think you're probably going to laugh at this one, because it's probably not going to be a typical answer, but the atmosphere, especially on game nights, when the players are starting to win and the energy level starts to increase and the coaches start coming in with their suits on, the music that's being played. I'm not far from the dressing room, so of course, you know, whether the door is open or not, the music is loud and, you know, reverberating off all the walls, that kind of thing. So just the whole excitement of building up to the game. And we usually play Friday nights and Sunday afternoons. And then Monday you come in and it's all quiet. And it resets again, and you wait for the energy to build throughout the week for the next game. So, and it's just a real sense of teamwork here. So I think that's what excites me about working here, is that, and like Rochelle, and you have said, every day is different. You have no idea what's going to come. You think you've got your day all planned out, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. This happened today, so we have to take care of that. But
Yeah, and I mean, the teamwork that you mentioned is something that, Olivia, you also mentioned earlier. It's really incredible to see, you know, how these different departments come together to assemble this this product that we all see. Is that, I'll pose the same question to you then, Olivia. What's the most exciting part about your role in the OHL, or with the OHL's Kitchener Rangers?
Yeah, for sure. And I think I may just branch it off a bit into the other opportunities I've had in the past, and looking at the overarching theme of just, you know, the industry in general. You know, when I first did my first internship, you know, like Christy said, it was, first of all, the atmosphere about, you know, being in this umbrella of the industry that almost seemed as if the barrier to get in was unbreakable. And now you're here, you know, let's just soak it all up, right? So I think number one, for sure, the atmosphere. But the second part was just getting to know all the people for me. You know, I'm a big people person. So, you know, whenever I do my internships, or if I'm working with the OHL, for instance, I just want to know about everybody in their position. So I've made some wonderful friends with ushers and security guards. And I don't care if you're in the kitchen cooking, we're going to be friends, right? And because I think everybody plays a part in, again, that end magical game that you're watching at the end of the day. And for me, I just want to soak up all the knowledge that's available there. So I think that's part of it. The second part is the community aspect, for sure. Just seeing, you know, how sports brings such joy to kids is something that I really value too. And I saw a lot of that when I was working with the OHL and with the NHL with MLSC, as well as, you know, seeing, you know, the kids' faces light up when, you know, we brought them to go they won, a stick or a puck over the boards. That's something that I'm really passionate about. But the thing is that in, the industry, again, we have to remind ourselves is although it has this idea of, enthusiasm and this great atmosphere, it's important that we understand that while there are great things about it, there are also negative things about it too, right? And there are still barriers every single day. I think Canadian basketball play-by-play announcer Megan McPeak, she said a quote once, and she said, women in sports have being a woman as a hurdle to jump over. What a white man might have to go through to prove their knowledge, a woman has to do double that. And then you kind of think about those of color, and then those who identify with the LGBT plus community. They have to work triple or quadruple that, and are kind of held to an even higher standard by society, all because of their gender, culture, sexuality, and heritage. So, I mean, those individuals constitute, a dexterity that represents, a whole other layer of athleticism as they're pushing back stereotypes. So for me, being a part of the industry and seeing those people, working around me, it brings such joy, because I know personally, how tough. No, I can't relate to them in a way, but I understand the hardships that they had to do to get to where they are. So whenever I'm face to face with a woman, in general, doesn't matter what you represent, that's another joy of being in the industry that I love as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned, well, it kind of ties into what Rochelle and I were talking about earlier. It's just so easy to make a kid smile when you work in sports. It's such a rewarding aspect of the job, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Rochelle, I'll pose the same question to you. I might have just answered it with the comment I just made, but what is the most exciting about working in sports as a woman?
Well, working in sports, like working for my hometown team has been it's such a surreal experience, because when it comes to game night, I'm fortunate that I am in the stands, in the store when it comes to the game night. So I am mingling with everyone who's at the game. So seeing the impact, seeing how the game is, and just feeling the atmosphere, as Christy said, is just amazing. And just like the community impact is like amazing. I thoroughly enjoy taking the players to the school, and to the schools that we go and visit, and even with some of like the community programs that we have, and taking the players for that, like if it's community sponsorships or partnerships that way. It's amazing to see what those interactions that the players have, and even hearing the feedback from fans or event goers, that that one moment that the players make with anyone, especially with kids, the kids will be talking about it for weeks. And I think I'm impressionable by that. I still, on my memory board on my dresser, where I have photos from dating back till I was little, but I have a photo when the Memorial Cup came to my elementary school, and that's there. So that is that was such an impression for me, and is one of the reasons which drew me to wanting to be with Kitchener, and knowing just knowing the respect that they had, especially in the community. So I always like to share that too when I'm going on community appearances with the players, because me as an 8-year-old, or I don't know, I can't remember how old I was back then. I don't think I really want to go into that dating myself. It was such a fantastic experience, and for someone who didn't play hockey. So just going into the schools and seeing the smiles that the kids have on their face, the hockey sticks, the jerseys that they wear, the chants of go Rangers go, it's just remarkable. And I think my favorite aspect is when it goes into playoff season, and that's when I realized that how much I think anyone, even season ticket holders and fans, but a few years ago when we were going for the run, I was in the back room of the store because I couldn't watch it because we kept on going into overtime or tying, and my butterflies were happening, but it was happening because obviously I wanted them to do good, but I was thinking of the players aspect of it. So like to be feeling like, well, I don't know if I have the exact same, but like you just feel part of the team atmosphere with it. And like the Rangers have been amazing with that. And I've been very fortunate in terms of my success with getting to where I'm at. And just making me feel part of the team or part of a family.
Incredible. Well, 6 o'clock unbelievably already. Before we wrap up, I have to give a shout out to Dan Upham, who says that the pucks on the stick behind you, Christy, look like a display from the 2007-2008 season where Kitchener won the OHL League Championship on their way to the Memorial Cup. Each puck is a win. So thank you for clearing that up.
Well,
Better eyes than I have.
It's funny because our trainer just sent me a text and said the stick and pucks are from the 2003 Memorial Cup run. So I don't know. I really should have done my research, I guess, before I got on this call. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm nervous.
All right. Well, I just want to give a huge thank you to all four of you, Rochelle, Olivia, Christy, and Namita. Thank you so much for taking some time to chat about your careers, your paths, offering some advice. It's all super valuable, and I've really enjoyed hearing from all of you and having this discussion. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Sarah.
And I just want to take another minute to thank all of our panelists, all of our guests for tuning in, everyone for sharing their stories, making the time today. I really hope all of you attending were able to maybe learn something and just really learn it. Everyone has something to offer. You know, we all do as women. We offer so many important perspectives, and we have so much important experience, and we belong in sports. That's the bottom line. Final reminder to fill out the survey that will be emailed out to you following the end of the event for your chance to win a pair of Under Armour shoes. And again, the event will be rebroadcast on the Rangers YouTube channel. Thank you all again so much. It's been such a pleasure, such an honor listening to all of you, sharing your words. Have a great night, everyone, and happy International Women's Day.